Welcome to the Thriving Woman Collective podcast. I'm your host, Nguyen. Let me be clear from the start. This isn't a place for sugarcoating. You won't find empty cliches or quick fixes here. What you'll find is truth. Sometimes the hard truth, but it's truth that set me free, and it can do the same for you. For years, I lived my life in survival mode. I was the daughter trying to be perfect, the partner begging to be chosen, the woman stuck in toxic cycles that kept me small. I chased worth in men, in achievements, in how well I played every role except the most important one, myself. I know what it feels like to drown in shame, to wake up every morning asking, who am I? What now? I know what it feels like to want to disappear. But I also know the power of choosing differently. The power of drawing a line in the sand and saying, I will not be the victim of my own story anymore. That's what today's episode is about. Truth, accountability, and transformation. It's about stepping out of survival and into thriving. Because the woman you're becoming, she's already inside of you. And this is where we rediscover her together. A lot of us have been through things we didn't deserve. Betrayal, abuse, neglect. Parents who weren't emotionally available. Partners who tore us down instead of building us up. I've lived it. Growing up, I always felt like the odd one out, not quite American enough, not quite Vietnamese enough. I performed to fit in, wore masks to feel safe, chased love just to feel chosen. I ended up in relationships where I was humiliated, abused, and betrayed. At my lowest point, I saw my name dragged across the news, labeled in ways that crushed me. Everyone I knew saw it. My children's school saw it. People whispered, judged, pointed fingers. I'll never forget the feeling of walking into a store, knowing strangers had read those headlines and wondering if they were staring at me with disgust. In that moment, I thought, this is it. This is who I'll be forever. The woman defined by her worst mistake. If you ever carried a label, a rumor, or a scarlet letter that felt bigger than you, I want you to know I see you. I know how heavy it is. But here's the hard truth. Pain is inevitable, but staying the victim is optional. My 2 divorces taught me that lesson the hard way. The first time, I stayed far longer than I should have. I convinced myself that keeping the family together was more important than my own well-being. Even when I was humiliated, even when I was left raising my girls alone while he chased attention elsewhere. I told myself, if I just try harder, maybe he'll choose me. But he didn't, and every day I stayed, I chose him over me. The second marriage wasn't any kinder. This time, I thought I had learned, but instead, I found myself in another relationship where I was controlled, isolated, emotionally beaten down. I couldn't breathe without being watched. I couldn't speak without being criticized. My daughters were called names. I was called worse. And yet, I kept taking him back. Over and over again. Until the day I didn't. Until the day I finally said, enough. Divorce isn't glamorous. It wasn't freedom wrapped in a pretty bow. It was painful, messy, humiliating. I was broke. I was starting over again. I didn't even know who I was outside of being his wife. But here's what those divorces taught me. Sometimes the bravest thing you can do is walk away. Sometimes the only way to find yourself is to lose everything first. Where in your life are you holding on to something that's destroying you? Just because you're afraid of who you'll be without it. After the headlines, after the humiliation, after my marriage collapsed, I went into hiding. For 6 months, I couldn't face the world. I isolated myself, not just physically, but emotionally. I shut people out. I avoided grocery stores, social events, phone calls, even my own family. I thought that if I saw someone who knew me, it would be the most unbearable thing I've ever experienced. So I hid. My world became just me, my four walls, and my thoughts. And let me tell you, isolation can be both a prison and a classroom. In those silent days, the shame was so loud. I replayed every mistake, every betrayal, every cruel word. I thought, no one will ever see me as anything other than this. But slowly, something shifted. The silence that felt suffocating started to carve out space. Space where I could hear something different. I found spirituality in that silence, not because I was looking for it, but because I had nothing left. Meditation, a whisper of surrender. I didn't know what I was doing. I just knew I needed something bigger than me, because me was crushed. And in that silence, I started hearing a different voice. A whisper that said, "You are not your mistakes. You are not your shame. You are not what they called you. You are more." That 6 months of isolation became the soil where my healing began. I planted the seed of accountability, the realization that while I couldn't change the past, I could choose differently moving forward. What part of your life feels like a prison right now? And how might it secretly be a classroom? This is where most of us get stuck. We confuse accountability with blame. Blame says, it's all my fault. Accountability says, I have the power to choose differently now. That shift changes everything. When I stayed in relationships that destroyed me, when I silenced my voice to keep the peace, when I shrank myself to fit into roles that suffocated me, that wasn't about them anymore. That was about me. And I say that with love because I know how easy it is to keep pointing outward. But freedom doesn't come from waiting for someone else to change. Freedom comes from taking ownership of the choices we make today. The victim role gives us something: sympathy, excuses, protection from risk. But it also gives us a cage. And the truth is, you are the only one holding the key. Becoming her doesn't mean becoming perfect. If it did, I'd never qualify. It means becoming free. The woman I am becoming isn't waiting for rescue. She isn't begging to be chosen. She isn't defined by the labels other people tried to pin on her. She knows her worth. She protects her peace. She builds a life with intention, even if it's messy, even if she's scared. That's what it means to thrive. Not a picture-perfect life, but a life aligned with who you truly are. So let me ask you, where in your life are you still playing the victim? Where are you waiting for someone else to validate you, rescue you, or choose you? And what would it look like if today you chose yourself instead? Remember, accountability isn't punishment, it's permission. Permission to say no, permission to leave, permission to start over, permission to thrive. Remember, accountability isn't punishment, it's permission. Permission to say no, permission to leave, permission to start over, permission to thrive. Because the truth is, the woman you want to be is already inside you. She's not waiting for someday, she's waiting for you. I'm Diana Nguyen, and this has been the Thriving Woman Collective podcast. If this episode stirred something in you, don't just listen. Sit with it, journal it, ask yourself, where am I still waiting to be rescued? And how can I rescue myself today? Because your freedom, your healing, your thriving life, it all starts with you. Stop surviving and start becoming her.